Sure. Hi, can you guys hear me? Awesome. Hi, I'm Chani. I had the privilege of working with Daniela and mentoring her over the last few months. Before working together, she had no experience with computer science, software engineering, really anything in that field, but she was really interested in learning and was also interested in biology and learning about different genetic disorders. So we kind of came up with a game plan to combine the two. So we created a website that just demonstrates and gives information about the genetic disorders that Daniela wanted to do some research about. So she learned a little bit about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, a bunch of different programming languages and tools. And ultimately, she has a form that the user will fill out, and it will demonstrate, it will indicate which stage of the disorder the user is likely to have based on their answers. So I'm gonna turn it over to Daniela and not try to steal the spotlight too much.
Hi everyone, my name is Daniella C and I currently attend SK and I'm in ninth grade. Next slide, please. My mentor's name is Chani and she currently works as a software engineer at Prudential in Newark. She attended Yeshiva University where she studied computer science and she grew up in New Jersey and is currently living in Manhattan. Next slide, please. My project is called Multifactorial Disorders and Their Stages. Now, you may be wondering what that means, but they're caused by many different factors such as lifestyle, genetics, and even environmental factors. For the purpose of my project, I've specifically chosen to research on Alzheimer's and schizophrenia because I found them to be the most interesting. My project is a website that will provide information on both and include forms that will help assess what stage someone might be experiencing. And for the purpose of my project, I've learned the different courses of HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and to use the tool GitHub. I used HTML to design the main page, information pages, and form pages to my website, and I used CSS to design them. And I also used JavaScript, and I learned lots about functions and I incorporated the logic to my website on it. And lastly, I also learned to use the tool GitHub to host my website and view any new changes that I've made. Next slide, please. Some of the key concepts to understanding Alzheimer's is a long-term mental disorder and often caused by many factors such as changes in the brain related to old age, environment, genetics, and even lifestyle. And Alzheimer's is often found in people between early 60s to mid 60s and sometimes even later. And the actual disease is caused by an abnormal buildup of protein that results in the death of nerve cells. Nerve cells are extremely crucial to the survival of a human being because they perform some functions such as thinking, learning, remembering, and even planning, which patients suffering from Alzheimer's often struggle with. And the three stages of Alzheimer's are mild, moderate, and late stage Alzheimer's. And no cure has yet been found, but there are therapies and different medications that can be taken to reduce the number of symptoms. Next slide, please. And I've also researched on schizophrenia, as I mentioned earlier, and some of the key concepts to understanding it is schizophrenia is a psychiatric illness and caused by a number of things, such as genetics and even abnormalities during pregnancies, such as toxins or exposure to influenza. And schizophrenia is usually found in men between early 20s to mid 20s, and symptoms are usually found in women in the late 20s. And schizophrenia patients often suffer from hallucinations, delusions, and disordered thinking. And the three stages of schizophrenia are prodromal, residual, and active. And it requires lifelong treatment and support, but the symptoms can be managed as well. Next slide, please. And this is an example of what code looks like. And this is the code for my main page. And it can vary from being very simple to more complex depending on the function or the purpose. Next slide, please. And this is the page that I used to make the code to the Alzheimer's form. And as you can see, this code is slightly more complex than the one before because it required more things, such as to make select all that apply boxes for the form. And you can really see a direct comparison between one and the other. Next slide, please. And this is a portion of my JavaScript file. And on this page, you can see how I've divided the different stages to both Alzheimer's and schizophrenia and the symptoms that belong to each. And on this page, I'm referring to the IDs that I use to name all the symptoms. Next page, please. And this is my demo and the website that I've created. And this is the main page where I've provided general information on multifactorial disorders and what they are. And below, I've provided 2 links to both Alzheimer's and schizophrenia. And each link leads to the next page. And on the Alzheimer's form, I provided the user with general information on the factors that can increase the risk of development, along with the causes and the different areas of the brain that are affected, in addition to the 3 stages of Alzheimer's and the symptoms that are generally experienced in each. And below is the link to the Alzheimer's form page. And on the Alzheimer's form page, the user will be asked to select symptoms that apply to their current state, along with their name and age. And once the form is submitted, the user will be directed to a new page stating what stage they're currently experiencing based on the symptoms they've selected, along with information that is catered to their specific stage. And that link leads back to the main page. And I've also provided different information pages and form pages for schizophrenia, which can be accessed in the link below. And one of the many highlights of my experience was really working with a trained and experienced software engineer and learning about a field in which I've had no prior knowledge to, as Chani mentioned before. And another one of the highlights of my experience was creating the logic to how the website would recognize which symptoms belong to which stages, because at that point, I really began to see my project come together and produce results. And throughout the process, I also gained a lot of information and knowledge on schizophrenia and Alzheimer's, in addition to also a lot of knowledge on functions and how to incorporate user data to receive an output, and in the case of my project, a stage output. And one of the many challenges we experienced was actually creating the logic to how we would incorporate the form data to receive that stage output. And lastly, I also learned that in computer science and building a website, it's a series of trial and error, and results are often not seen instantaneously. And it's also really a field of a lot of precision, because even a slight mistake can really throw off the entire website. Next slide, please. And I really want to say a special thank you to my mentor, Chani, for all your help and guidance, and I couldn't have done it without you. Any questions? No? Yeah.
Where do you see your next step? You know, if you were going to continue working on this project?
I would like to add, I was asked where I could see taking the next step for my website. And what I would do is I would add different disorders and even different illnesses, and even provide even more information, more in depth, and even different applications, other than just symptoms, such as age, more demographics even. Yeah, any more questions? Okay, thank you.